Well,
That means you must be somehow
it would
taking
take more
instruction.
than
Okay, there we go. Okay. They had Captain Susan had a situation involving calendars from independent high school. This former employee, they found these very strange crossroads like they found her name. And then the most creative and yet disruptive reached out to her story on there. She sent her name and wrote
You've gotten quiet. I was waiting for Vicki, are you ready? Excuse me, we're going to wait a second. You'll let me know.
Prison for life. I thought it was kind of creative tensions. You know, he had other problems beside that. So he,
And then I'll start. And it's
he
really
liked to
short.
go in the stores and
So I appreciate it.
leave without he wound up doing it. I'm not sure he went to prison, but he did a bunch of things.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of creative in its way.
He said that Tom will tell me.
Probably
He
hysterical.
just told me to say he just told me to say it's presented the colors. So we're ready. Well, and waiting for my Cass team to ask some give me a signal.
They had this window there, and the lady on the other side of the window was like this. We had his desk.
Go ahead. Okay, now we're ready to start. Can we present the colors, please?
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. Thank you very much. You may all be seated now. I want to start by thanking the Shawnee Heights High School Junior Naval ROTC and their instructor, Lieutenant Commander Mark Rakestraw, back there. So thank you very much. For those of you who don't know me, though I think I know quite a few of you in the audience, my name is Jenny Chin, and I'm the Executive Director of the Kansas Historical Society. And I really appreciate your attendance here today, because we're very, very excited. But I want to start by saying that 74 years ago today, it was a quiet Sunday in Kansas, and many were listening to their radios. At about 1:30 Kansas time, the networks hastily broke into the radio programs with terrible news. American naval ships stationed in Pearl Harbor were under attack. And the next day, Franklin Delano Roosevelt called it a date which will live in infamy. And I think we always will know this date. Now, Petty Officer Sherritt Baker of Topeka was stationed on the destroyer USS Ralph Talbot at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. When the Japanese launched their attack, Petty Officer Baker and another sailor were in a rowboat paddling to a buoy to which the Talbot was anchored. The two hid behind the buoy to avoid a machine gun attack. They eventually freed the anchor and returned to the Talbot. Unlike some, the Talbot suffered little damage, but was removed from the harbor that day in case the attacks continued. This flag, which we are displaying today in honor of Pearl Harbor Day, is now in the collection of the Kansas Historical Society, but it was flying on the Talbot as it went out to sea that day. It flew until February 1st, 1942, when the colors were exchanged prior to the attack on the Marshall and Gilbert Islands. At the time, Petty Officer Baker convinced another sailor to give him the flag, which he kept in his possession until he donated it to the Kansas Historical Society in 2013. Now, many of you know the Kansas Historical Society was founded in 1875 as both a state trustee of its history and as a private not-for-profit support organization. It is the mission of these two sister organizations to preserve and share the state's important role in American history. Our work is meant to honor the past, educate the present, and inspire the future. Currently, the museums, sites, and research rooms, as well as the Historical Society's presence online, receives a total of 13 million visits annually. This flag that we honor today, that flew over the Talbot, is one of the many artifacts and documents in the Historical Society's vast collections that help us to connect the past to the next generation. Students from all corners of the state, such as our honored guest today from Shawnee Heights High School, visit the Kansas Historical Society annually to connect those dots to their own life. And I hope that this flag is as meaningful to this ROTC unit as it is to us. We have some very special guests here besides our friends from the high school, and that is, I'm very excited to introduce them, and they're up here with me today. And these are trustees from the Dane G. Hansen Foundation, located in western Kansas, in Logan. First, I would like to introduce Carol Bales and Charles Moyer, or Cy, as most of us know him by, and Robert Hartman. The people that could not be here today were Doyle Fair and Gary Poor, who just were unable to make it to Topeka. And Doug Albert? Albin, and Doug Albin. Okay, thank you for telling me that. The Dane G. Hansen Foundation was established in 1965 with a generous donation from the estate of Mr. Hansen. The foundation has awarded more than $13 million, although I heard at lunch probably more than that, in scholarships to students from the northwest portion of Kansas. In addition to scholarships, the foundation also invests in education, healthcare, economic development, social services, security, conservation, and the environment through grants that they give to different organizations. I am really excited that they're here today because they have a wonderful gift for us. They are here to announce that they are giving a grant to the Kansas Historical Foundation, and that grant will honor the past, educate the present, and inspire the future. It is my pleasure to ask Carol Bales, a trustee of the foundation, to come forward to make the presentation. Carol?
Dangy Hansen was an outstanding Kansan who believed in education and wanted to make Northwest Kansas a better place to live. So our goal as trustees is basically in our Northwest Kansas area, but we can still do other things. This being our 50th anniversary of the Dangy Hansen Foundation of Logan, Kansas, the trustees are providing a gift that every Kansan can enjoy. We recognize that understanding the past is the best way to create a better future. Could I have Vicki Henley and Paul Stewie come up? On behalf of the Dangy Hansen Foundation of Logan, Kansas, we would like for you to please accept a check in the amount of $1 million to use for the new interactive exhibits to create a Kansas experience in the Kansas Museum of History in their entrance gallery, which is where we are.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be in the photograph that's from either the trustees? I've never
$1 million.
personally seen that $1 million check. So. Is there anyone else on the board of the Historical Society who'd like to?
Maybe afterwards we'll get
Okay, maybe afterwards. Then I would like to. Thank you so much, Carol, and I would very much like to ask Paul Stewie, who is currently the president of the Kansas Historical Foundation, to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you. As president of the Kansas Historical Foundation, I'm honored to thank the Dane G. Hansen Foundation Board of Trustees for this remarkable gift to the Kansas Historical Society and the Kansas Historical Foundation, and to all of the people of Kansas. Your generous gift will introduce visitors to the Kansas Museum of History exhibits, and through this portal will expose current and future generations to the rich history that is the history of our state. The responsibility of the Kansas Historical Society is to safeguard and share our history, and the mission of the Kansas Historical Foundation is to support and promote Kansas history through the work of the Kansas Historical Society. As a foundation, we could not adequately accomplish this task without the support of our friends like the Dane G. Hansen Foundation. The Kansas Museum of History is the gateway to understanding our history. Research has shown that seeing something in person is quite different from seeing it in a book or on a computer screen. And those who experience it in person, on firsthand, are more likely to remember what they've seen in later life. What you have done with this generous gift is to allow us to develop an entrance to the Kansas Museum of History that will immediately demonstrate the significance of this museum. Your contribution to our museum is truly exceptional and is very much appreciated by all of us. A gift of this size is truly historic. Now, Mr. Hansen, as your website aptly describes, was an exceptional Kansan who had a personal interest in promoting education and helping people succeed. He understood that education was critical to development, and you, the trustees, have honored his memory by awarding grants and scholarships every year to recipients who demonstrate the strong desire for community improvement. Thousands of children from Kansas, from throughout the nation and beyond, are exposed to Kansas history, some for the first time at the Kansas Museum of History. I have to believe that Mr. Hansen would be very happy to know he played an important part in introducing these children to the history of the state that he loved. Today marks the formal beginning of an important relationship between the Dane G. Hansen Foundation and the Kansas Historical Society and Foundation. I can't tell you how much we appreciate what you have done, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
I too, as the director of the Kansas Historical Society, cannot thank the Dane G. Hansen Foundation enough. I'm so appreciative of the work you do throughout the state of Kansas, but particularly I'm thrilled today to develop this partnership with you. I also, before we close, need to mention how important the Kansas Historical Foundation is to the Kansas Historical Society. Many of the programs you see here, whether it be special exhibits and programming at the Kansas Museum of History, or whether it's at capital improvements at our state historic sites, or providing us with a fund for acquisitions to increase our collections to really document the history of the state. None of that could be done without the foundation. So I would like to also personally thank, on behalf of all the staff and all the people of the state of Kansas, the foundation for helping us to carry out our mission in such a regal way. I very much appreciate it. So thank you to all of you that are here from the Kansas Historical Foundation. And I don't even know how to say a big enough thank you to the Dane Hansen Foundation trustees. This is an outstanding, a generous, and a very important contribution to us, and it will help us educate all Kansans about the uniqueness and influential parts of our history. And I know that together we will inspire the future through future generations. So thank you all for being here today, and thank you so much, and we'll take a couple more pictures, but thank you.
I'd like some board members to come on up. Okay. John? Anita? To the side. Infamous.